Okay. I did a group recording, but I was really sick. I'm feeling a slightly better. So since I have to do my individual one, um, I am going to um Zoom, share the screen. Okay. I'm going to go on my side really fast so I can read my part. Like I said, I was really sick. And it was late. My part is the Piaget theory, art and play. Number one was sensory motor stage from ages 0 to 2, which is I'd focus more on art, and that is my pass out flyer, which is the learning through play template that I did, which is going to be through scribbling, sensory play, and they could smear paint and using more processed art. Then continued is preoccupational stage from ages 2 to 7. Um, it's just basically pretend play, storytelling, pictures, play, and art in both sides of the world. And then next is the concrete occupational stage from ages 7 to 11 years old. Art connection, you'll see more structure and design into the artwork. They might try to make things look right. Play is more important than, imagination, and allows creativity. Formal occupational stage is from ages 11 to and plus. The abstract thinking develops. Teens can play, imagine, and create new conceptual art. Art connection play might be involved in symbolic, like more thematic play and explorations and identity and think performance, graphic novels, and digital media. At this stage of play, they can use tools, critical thinking, and self-expression. And then I'm doing family support, also strengths between parents and child, encouraging love and learning. When adults join children in play, especially when they go out of control, the strict structure. Use magical unfolds in their both moments. Imagination becomes shared language, and like such as cardboard boxes transform into a spaceship. Scarves turn into dragon tails, and both adults and child are fully immersed in the world and in the own making of usual rules to bend. And they can use their own creativity, which is important for adults to just step back instead of just teaching and let the child do their own thing. Um, Following the child's lead is allowing them to be more playful, and then the adults can help guide them and to share in the world. This process can lead to a good artwork, such as spontaneous involvement and deep meaning, something that's more deep meaningful, and it can result in physical product, which is experience, self, the connection and laughter and shared wonder. Because a form of art is in motion and it is fleeting, yes, it leaves the lasting impression on both child's and adult imagination in the world. Now it's YouTube time. And I don't know why this went. This is also another printout that I will hand out pieces of paper to people that they can write notes towards the videos.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Shimi Kang, and thank you for joining me on Mental Wealth, a channel where you will learn to protect, heal, and optimize your most powerful asset, your human mind. Today I'm going to talk to you in more detail about play. This is one of my favorite topics. There is such sophisticated neuroscience that is involved in understanding play. We kind of stigmatize play as something we do after all the important stuff is done. Well, in fact, play itself is vital to our health, happiness, and success. Find out more on my episode on play here. Today, let's review some of the different types of play. Many people don't realize that we actually have a variety of different ways humans are meant to play, and each one activates a different part of our brain and improves really important life skills and communication skills and stress management skills that keep us healthy, happy, and strong. One type of play is called object play. The human hand actually evolved around the same time as the human brain. So our hands are really intelligent. We have about 60,000 sensory neurons right in the palm of our hand. So when we play with our hands with objects, whether it is children playing with sand or mud, or doing ceramics or gardening or doing the dishes or knitting or coloring or whatever it might be, when we activate our hands, we activate our minds, and it really improves our problem-solving ability. If you see people in a boardroom who are thinking, you'll see some people doodling, other people twirling their pencil. So playing with our hands and our object play is a very powerful way to play, and that leads to problem solving and improvement in our innovation and our cognition skills. Another type of play, one of my favorite ways of playing, is called body movement play. No surprise there, when we move our bodies, we move our minds. And that's why we see young kids who love to twirl and to jump and run and sit upside down. Our bodies are really intelligent, and when we get them being used in different ways, we're actually mimicking and signaling our brain that it's safe to explore, to experiment. Body movement in space, again, really improving our ability to come up with new ideas and to explore new ways of thinking. One of my favorite stories is about rough and tumble play. So rough and tumble play is body movement in a more rough and tumble way. So I love to tell the story of my kids. I have 3 children, 2 boys who are now teenagers and a 10-year-old girl. And when my boys were young, they're only 22 months apart, they used to love to wrestle, and sometimes in very inappropriate places, like in the middle of a restaurant. I kind of found it a bit like embarrassing, barbaric. I'm like, oh my God. But then when I actually looked closely at what was happening, they were having so much fun. They were giggling and laughing. They were rarely hurting each other, and I could see the bonding happening. I could literally, as a psychiatrist, as a neuroscientist, I say I could see their endorphins and their oxytocin and those little hits of dopamine that were surging when they did this activity. In my research, what I realized is that body movement and rough and tumble play specifically actually is such an important way that we learn social skills. And what I mean by that is when we move our bodies and the push and pull of the physical body that might happen in wrestling actually develops those areas of our brain in the cerebellum that lead to our understanding of the push and pull of our social relationships. So Children who wrestle or have rough and tumble play know when to assert themselves. They know how far to go. They know how to say no when someone is pushing too far. And they're less likely to bully or be the victim of bullying. So rough and tumble play is super, super important. We need to allow kids to do this, and we definitely need to bring recess back. Another type of play is called storytelling play. Us humans, we come from a storytelling culture. We love to tell stories and visuals and metaphors. And the brain science shows that when we listen to a story and the imagery and the vivid detail, we can get lost in that story. And in fact, our brain can sometimes respond like we're having the experience. So storytelling is really powerful for human bonding, for human connection, but also for human exploration. It is through stories that we can understand the world around us. We can develop empathy for characters or people who aren't like us. And we can actually have the joy of experiences that we may never otherwise have. So storytelling play is probably one of my favorite types of play. Other types of play include celebratory play, really important to celebrate efforts and important holidays, things like Halloween and New Year's Eve. It allows us to pause in our busy lives and come together and bond and be creative around these particular celebrations. There's also something called attunement play, which is a part of social play. When we look at each other and our eyes lock, the classic one is a baby and a parent looking at each other. There's a play behavior there where they're cooing and talking back and forth. That is like superfood for our brains. It's what we call neurogenesis when we do that, when our eyes and faces lock and we're mimicking and looking at each other. So I hope you realize that play is not a simple thing. It's actually really sophisticated. There's different types of play. Each one activates a different part of our brain and develops really important life skills, skills for communication and critical thinking, skills for creativity and collaboration. Play is an essential part of human behavior. It releases the pleasure neurochemical dopamine, as well as those wonderful neurochemicals of bonding, oxytocin, of mastery and self-confidence, that's serotonin, and of just wellness and bliss and happiness, that's endorphin. Here's a prescription for the different types of play I talked about in this episode. Think about what type of play you're engaging in. What can you try more of? What haven't you tried recently? Get out there.
And then I'm so sorry for the background. This video about Piaget of 0 to 2, and then the stages, it did all come through with the video that we did together. And then these are my references. So know how to. Well, I do not know if you guys can see me or not. But I am ending this and I am going to stop sharing. Okay, so hopefully this is a little bit better presentation on my end. And you can still grade the group one. We just, for some reason, I don't know why the one video did not show. And with me being sick of my voice, I am sorry, but that's it. Thank you.